to, when you Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Councillor Luck. I'll be calling the meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock. So could I have an approval of the agenda, please? Councillor Bigger, seconded by Councillor Thompson. On the question? Seeing there is none, please vote. Oops, I just, motion carried. Sorry, my,
I just don't.
Oh, I got it, sorry, yeah, my first one.
You did it, you got it.
Like a boss.
There.
sorry, my
Motion
computer
carried,
just went
7-0.
down. Motion carried, 7-0. Thank you very much. Just waiting for my computer to come back up. There we go. So, opening remarks. Okay, land acknowledgement, please. Who's doing the land acknowledgement tonight? Could we start with Deputy Mayor Luck? Would you please read it?
This is my new computer's off. We would like to.
Oh, excuse me.
We would like to respectfully acknowledge that Quispamsis exists on the traditional territory of the Wizlis, Dequay, Maliseet, and Mi'kmaq people, whose ancestors, along with the Passamaquoddy tribes, signed peace and friendship treaties with the British Crown in the 1700s. We would like to take this moment to pay respect to the elders past and present and the descendants of this traditional territory. And may we remind ourselves of the important work we have before us tonight. May we make good decisions without prejudice or bias and always in the best interest of our community, which we are here to serve.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Luck. And so I have a few remarks. And so good evening to everyone that's here and online. Welcome to our first full meeting of council following our swearing in. Before we would begin, I'd like to take a moment to recognize and thank the residents of Quispamsis for their trust and responsibility that you have placed in all of us. Serving this community is a privilege, and each member of council understands the importance of the role, and they have accepted it. Tonight also gives us the opportunity to formally introduce our members of council to you and our senior leadership team. I would like to recognize our councillors, each who bring a unique experience and perspectives. And starting with my left, I have Deputy Mayor Carrie Luck, Councillor Beth Thompson, Councillor Noah Donovan. To my right, Councillor Emil Olson, Councillor Doug McDonald, Councillor Mike Bigger, and Councillor Kirk Miller. I would also like to introduce you our senior leadership team, whose role is essential in supporting council through sound advice, data-informed recommendations, and overseeing the day-to-day operations of our town. Their leadership expertise helps council put things into action. To my left, our CAO, Ian Watson, our Director of Engineering, Gary Loger, Planning and Development Service Manager, Dwight Colburn. Tim Roselle, Communications. To my right, our clerk, Lisa McGinnis. and also our Director of Community Services, Dana Purton-Dixon. And one that's not here before I skip to the last is Cheryl Emerson, who's our Human Resource Manager, and our Treasurer at the Van, Leah Esty. And to all the town staff behind these people, thank you. Every day, whether behind the scenes or working directly within our community, you deliver services that improve the quality of life to our residents and contribute to making Quispamsis an exceptional community as we live in today. I'd also like to extend my sincere thank you on behalf of all of us to the police and the fire and the library teams that are essential services that are provided to our people. Their professionalism, dedication, and care plays a vital role in keeping our community safe, supported, and connected. Quispamsis continues to be recognized as #1 communities to live in Atlantic Canada, and that recognition does not happen by chance. It is built through the care we put into our neighborhoods, the parks, the trails, and bringing people together. The services residents rely on every day in a community that puts people first. It reflects on staff who take pride in their work and show up each day committed to making this town stronger. It reflects residents who volunteer, support one another, invest in building a community that reflects businesses both long and new, and that have grown alongside of us as we continue to serve our residents, create jobs, and contribute to the quality of life that we enjoy today. To our business community, thank you for believing in Quispamsis and continuing to invest here. And increasingly, it reflects something else. People choose Quispamsis as a place they want to call home. As council, we have important responsibilities ahead of us. Our role is not only to manage today's priorities, but to prepare for tomorrow's opportunities and challenges. We will continue to follow our strategic roadmap, focus on both short and long-term service delivery and long-term community growth. In short term, that means ensuring our residents receive excellent service for making thoughtful decisions about where and how we expand. We are already seeing this through the infrastructure investments such as the water expansion along the Hampton Road. We also recognize that our community continues to grow, so does our responsibility to plan for systems to support it. That includes not only roads and water, but also our wastewater infrastructure. Managing wastewater responsibility is essential to protecting our environment, supporting sustainable development, and ensuring we are building a community that can grow in a balanced and responsible way. Looking ahead, future phases of water distribution and servicing will continue to shape the growth across our town. Our strategic plan will continue to guide us as we prioritize investments. If resources were unlimited, we would pave every road, rebuild every building, expand recreation facilities, twin the Qplex, continue growing our trail service and active transportation. Those are ambitions that reflect who we are and the pride of our community. But leadership is balancing ambition with responsibility. As stewards of the public dollar, council must make decisions that are financially responsible, sustainable, and align with priorities of our residents. Not every project can happen at once, but with a clear plan, disciplined decision-making, and our strong partnerships, we can continue to move our community forward. We also recognize that meaningful progress does not happen in isolation. Success comes through strong partnerships, working collaboratively with all levels of government, community organization, residents, and business. Our ability to bring projects to completion depends on aligning our priorities with the provincial and federal partners and clearly demonstrating the importance of investments in Quispamsis. To our provincial and federal partners, we are here and we need your support and collaboration to achieve our key priorities. Quispamsis is a vital portion of the region's strength and future growth. And with the right partnership, we can fully realize our potential. Aligning with Quispamsis is to our collective advantage because when we succeed, the whole region will succeed. The residents of Quispamsis have placed their trust in us to lead with respect, integrity, and a commitment to find a path forward. They expect leadership that listens, that works collaboratively, and approaches challenges with a determination that rather than to default to blame. We recognize that some challenges will be beyond our control, including financial realities and external pressures that may shape what is impossible or possible. In those moments, it's our responsibility as a council to adapt, prioritize, and continue moving forward in a responsible manner. That does not mean we will not advocate strongly for our community when needed. We will, but our approach will be always to bring solutions to the table at the same time and be constructive, creative, and focused on outcomes. Our commitment is simple. We want to engage openly, to take the lead with pride and integrity, to deliver in ways that strengthen Quispamsis today while preparing tomorrow. And I really look forward to the work ahead for this council and for our team. Thank you. A couple of other things I just want to mention before I wrap up is that June marks the beginning of Pride season, New Brunswick and across Canada. Running through September, Pride season provides an opportunity for the SLGBTQIA+ people and their allies to come together to recognize their contributions to their communities, celebrate talent, and highlight their resilience. Here in Quispamsis, two notable ways we celebrate Pride include the painting of the rainbow. Thank you very much for the staff for fixing it up. Crosswalk at the Qplex, and the name of the roadway that connects the Arts and Cultural Park to the Wheels and Ramp skateboard known as Equity Lane that was brought forward by Councillor Donovan and supported by this council a few years ago. Thank you very much. There are Pride events happening across our region, so take advantage of them. And finally, tomorrow I will be honored to represent our town at the Quispamsis graduation for Quispamsis High, which takes place tomorrow. This is a special ceremony to many as our future leaders prepare to take their next steps. This year, the school, Quispamsis High, is celebrating their 50th anniversary, and that's half a century of excellence in education right here in our community. As many of you, your children attended the school, my children attended that school, and I found myself thinking back of those days when they graduated and how fulfilled we are in knowing that our children are moving on. So I'm excited to share this day with them tomorrow, and I will make sure that I bring congratulations from council from each one of you, and congratulations to all the students graduating tomorrow, and may you find success in whatever your path may be. Thank you very much. And that is it for the mayor's comments. Thank you. I was a little long-winded tonight. So we're going to disclosure of interest. Have any? Seeing there is none. Minutes of the previous meeting. May.
Presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Presentation. We're going to presentation. We have Mr. Peter Logan here with us tonight to bring forward the audited financial statements for 2025. Mr. Logan, please.
Everybody. To every year. To go to 37 pages, 35 pages, so we're going to go through every one in detail. Actually, we're not. So I met this morning with the mayor and Beth and Emil and staff, and we went through the statements in a little more detail with the finance. So this evening's presentation will be fairly high level. So we'll take you through. So basically, as the external auditors, our job is to audit the internal records of the town to make sure that they are in compliance with Canadian accounting standards or public sector accounting standards, which all municipalities or government entities in Canada follow. And once we're done that examination and our testing, we then issue on the screen is our independent auditor's report. So that is the report that goes on the front of these statements, which just indicates that these statements are in accordance with those Canadian public sector accounting standards. The next schedule, there we go. So this is your consolidated statement of operations. I say consolidated because, as you're aware, the library, the police department, and the fire are proportionately consolidated with these statements. So approximately 60% of those results are included here, and then 40% would be in Rothsay, where it's a shared, those are shared services within the two towns. So revenue this year, your total revenue came in at $45,276,000. $35,326,000 of that was your property tax warrant. There was also $2.9 million of what we call conditional government transfers. The bulk of that would be for capital projects. And I think this year was the Canada Community Building Fund. There was about $2.8 million that came in, which would have been used for capital projects. So under public sector accounting standards, we show that grant as revenue on these statements, even though the funds were spent on capital, which will then be amortized out over the life of those projects. So it's not an exact matching. Some of the other revenue items there, your water and sewer user fees, those were at $3.913 million. And then sundry income would be things like user fees. There's also some included in there, the police. The police do some secondments for the RCMP, so they have some other revenue. So that is also included in that figure as well. The town's share of that. So in total, your revenue this year was $45,276,000. As far as expenditures go, we have the classifications. These are standard classifications for all municipalities. General government services came in at $3.616 million. Protective services, which would be your fire, predominantly fire and police, that was at $10,307,000. I'll also note the budgeted figures are on those statements as well in the first column, just to give you a comparison between budget to actual. Transportation services were $9,606,000. Those were a little over budget this year because of snow and ice removal. So the snow and ice removal came in higher this year than what was budgeted a little bit. The other big one there is community services. So that would be your recreation. We used to call that recreation. So that would include your Q-Plex, your parks, anything on the trails. So community services, that was just under $8 million at $7.9 million. And then utility services, that would be your water and your sewer. So those expenditures came in at $3,821,000. So total expenses this year were $37,766,000. When you take that away from your revenue, that has a surplus this year of $7,510,000. And a good chunk of that is due to the fact that we do have to include those capital grants as revenue. And again, these are public sector accounting statements, so we have to show that all as income in the year that we get it. The accumulated surplus you see at the end of last year was $108,472,000. So we're going to add our $7.5 million surplus to that this year. And at the end of the year, the accumulated surplus was $116 million. And if we look on the next page, so this would be your consolidated statement of financial position. So this shows where that, I guess, what represents that surplus of $116 million. The top section of that is your financial assets. So you've got cash and cash equivalents of just under $12 million. Included in that $11.94 million in cash, there's a $9 million in your reserve funds. So those would be, that $9 million would be restricted for reserve fund purposes. And then your accounts receivable, money that was owed to the town at the end of the year, which would have been subsequently received. So those items are there. Investments were $414,000. That would be the town's share of the investment portfolio within the police department. They have investments set aside for their retirement allowances. And then the town is part of the New Brunswick Employee Pension Plan. The plan is doing a lot better than it was several years ago. There's an asset surplus within the plan of $1,273,000. So the total financial assets, you're at $16,421,000. From that, we subtract off liabilities. So at the end of the year, accounts payable, we're at $6,044,000. Long-term debt, so that would be basically the borrowings. So that's at $19,461,000. That would also include $1.5 million of borrowing for the police. They actually have a debenture for the expansion of their building. And one thing that we do look at when we do the audit is we look at your debt service ratio. So what that is it's basically a percentage of how much of your budget or your total expenses are going towards long-term debt, principal repayments and interest payments. So in your general fund, that number is at 5.6%. Compared to 5.7% last year. So 20% is kind of the maximum that the province wants to see. So the town is well underneath that 20% in the general fund. For the water and sewer utility, 50% is the ceiling on that. And currently this year you are at 23.3% compared to last year at 23.5%. So again, well underneath those ceilings. So your liabilities, the total town liabilities are at $26,815,000, which puts net debt at $10,393,000, which is down. Last year, your net debt was at $13 million. And then the other large section is the big section is your tangible capital assets. So that would be your streets, your roads, your equipment, your buildings, your land, all of those things. So the cost base of the town's capital is $230 million, and our what we call amortization, which each year there's an amortization. It's a non-cash expense that goes through based on the life expectancy of the various assets. So to date, there's been amortization of $104 million. So the net assets, tangible capital assets, are at $125 million. So when you look at your surplus, it's really the equity that you have in those tangible capital assets that makes up that $116 million surplus. And then you have some inventory prepaids and some what we call debenture costs. With respect to those tangible capital assets, this year there was just under $12 million of additions, which was $3.7 million on streets, $2.2 million in building, $2.9 million in sewer, another $1 million in water upgrades. So it was a very busy year as far as the capital assets go. The other thing that we also track too, just public sector accounting statements, there's some variances or differences between the presentation of these versus what we call your funding surplus. So throughout the year, when you're setting your property tax rates, you kind of look at, it's more of a cash basis. So you're looking at, long-term debt, principal repayments, transfers to your reserve funds, capital expenditures are all considered to be expenditures under the funding. So we track that. So the funding surplus this year in your general operating fund was $90,744. And your utility operating, it was $55,729. And those numbers are important because they come back in 2 years' time as part of your budget process. So that surplus, you'll use that up in 2 years' time. So it's sort of the way the municipal mechanics work on these financial statements. And just one last note, reserve funds. So this year, at the end of the year, the total reserve funds in the town were at $9 million. So that would be, the big one there is your general capital reserve. So this is money set aside for future capital projects. So that's at $4.4 million. The utility capital reserve fund is at $2.6 million. And then you also have some operating reserve funds. So this would be for future operating costs, unexpected costs. In your operating reserve, general operating, it's $1.7 million. And the utility operating reserve is $198,000. So this year, there's about $2.6 million added to the reserve funds in the current year, or 2025, I should say. Overall, just a comment on the audit, it went well. Thank you to Leah and the staff. There were minimal adjusting entries, a couple that she gave to us, and then we do our entries to do the consolidation side of things. So things were in good shape. clean, so that always makes our job a little bit easier when the records are in good shape. And it also gives you comfort knowing during the year that the information you're looking at is accurate. So that's it for my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I would be happy to address them.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and I'm going to go to staff if they have some questions for you. So Councillor McDonald, please. Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Your Worship. As Mr. Logan mentioned, one of the primary purposes, of course, of financial information is to compare the actual results with what had been budgeted. And I guess I have three items that I wanted to ask about, one of which Mr. Logan's already mentioned in terms of sundry income. The statements, the way that's reflected, kind of makes it look like we had $500,000 of additional revenue that was not budgeted for. That's not really the case, and Mr. Logan referenced it's because we consolidate with the police department and it reflects their income on our line, which we wouldn't have budgeted in the same way. So I wouldn't want residents to think that we found $500,000 somewhere, that it was part of the system and part of the plan. It just shows, shows up that way. If that's wrong, Mr. Logan can correct me, but I
That's
think
accurate.
yeah.
It's about 400, 500,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Two others, one in the roads and street budget, which is on page 32 of the financial statements, and one in the utility. Based on the comparison to budget, it looks like the summer maintenance expenditures were $400 and some odd thousand less than what we had budgeted, but snow and ice removal is about $600,000 more. Is there an explanation? Maybe the CAO or perhaps Mr. Logan might be able to enlighten me a little bit on those.
I'll let Mr. Logan answer first, if you'd like to answer, or I can direct the question
Yeah,
to.
I mean, I guess we're just going with what was recorded in the
Right.
general ledger for expenses as far as the snow and ice being over budget this year. I guess the budget last year was about 2.9 million, 3 million in snow and ice. So yeah, the budget was at 2.7. So it was, again, it's under or over budget on that side.
Are you okay with that, Mr. McDonald, or would you like Mr. Loge to address your question?
Well, I'm not sure that, like I say, it looks like we spent $600,000 more than what was in the budget. I'm not 100% sure why that might be, but the summer maintenance is quite a bit under. So, and maybe it's just that's the way it kind of worked out. Perhaps I'm not sure.
We'll go to Mr. Loge just to address some of the expenses for the winter.
Thank you, Your Worship, and without having gone through the way that the documents were presented, I know that there's an accounting, the timelines when they're actually brought forward at the end of April, and the sequencing makes it, some things are charged that were in the winter that should be in the summer, vice versa, so I know there were some adjustments there. With respect to the wintertime, yes, we saw last winter was a little higher than we'd normally expend from the salt and the overtime perspective. I believe we were at 55 call-outs last year, which required full response, incorporating our contractors as well. So I know that the hourly for the storms was over, and the contractors got into their overtime guarantees as well. So there's a component of that was there. The summer numbers, and the treasurer can verify for me as well, is that we had some staffing shortages that we didn't fill due to long-term disabilities, leave of absences, things of that nature. So there's some salaries that weren't expended in the budget. And alternatively, we also didn't need as much with respect to some of the equipment repairs that we had. What we're seeing is that by having some of the mechanics on staff, we can actually do a lot of preventive maintenance. So some of the budgeted items that we thought we would farm out, we can actually do in-house. So there's a combination of those things. But again, the treasurer can speak to specific accounts with respect to the large variances that were throughout the year.
Thank you very much, Mr. Loge. And I believe, Councillor McDonald, you had one more.
Just one more,
Yes,
Your
go
Worship,
ahead.
yes. And thank you very much, Mr. Logier. It's in the water system and the utilities. there's something identified as well fields that was in the budget, 156,250, and we didn't seem to do any. Is that a particular project or something that just got deferred, or what might that relate to?
The Goody study, that is the groundwater, it's a Goody study, so the groundwater under direct influence, the province of New Brunswick is requiring all the well field, communities with well fields to go through an examination of their water supply systems to determine if there's a potential for contamination from surface bacteria, surface influences. So we did a Goody study, phase one, a couple of years ago. We've established with the province that they want to see another phase two, which is a little bit more specific. So that's the funds that would be required for that particular project.
Thank you very much. To the treasurer, did you have a comment, Ms. Esty?
I did, sure. Just about the summer versus winter. In the 2025 budget, there were some salaries that should have been in summer, but they went to winter, so that's why you see kind of a big difference between those two.
Thank you very much. No other questions? Oh, great. Okay, could I have a motion, please? Thank you, Mr. Logan. I just wanted to, we were going to thank you here. Okay. Deputy Mayor Luck?
Okay. I move that council approves the 2025 audit of financial statements and authorizes the mayor and treasurer to sign the financial statements and the audit communication letter from Teed Saunders Doyle and Company, as well as thank Mr. Logan for his presentation.
Just a moment. Did you combine those two motions?
No.
No, okay. And that's seconded by Councillor Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, call for the vote. All those on the question? Seeing there is none, please vote. I gotta fix this. It keeps on timing me out.
There is a second motion there, just FYI.
Yeah, I know. I gotta get back on my computer. We're good?
7-0.
Motion carried 7-0. Second motion, please. Could I have that by Councillor Donovan, please?
Thank you. I'd move that council appoint Teed Saunders, Doyle and Company to complete the audit of the 2026 financial statements at a fee to be negotiated.
And seconded by Councillor Olson. On the question. Seeing there is none, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. And again, thank you to Mr. Logan. My computer keeps on timing out on me, forcing me to go back in again. And the next on the agenda?
Public hearings, there's none.
Public hearings, there are none.
And then minutes of the previous meetings.
Minutes of the previous meeting, if I could have some motions? Okay, I'm catching up. We've got to figure this out here, this time out. Okay, Councillor Olson.
Thank you,
And
thank you, Your Worship. I'd move that the minutes for the May 19th, 2026 regular meeting be approved as presented.
That's seconded by Councillor McDonald.
Oh, no, Your Worship, I had a question, if I may.
I'm gonna call
okay.
for the question. So on the question, Councillor McDonald,
Having not been here, should I be voting on? Oh, okay, thank you.
the clerk says you're good to vote, so I'll call for the vote. It keeps on timing out, like there's something gone crazy. You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
7-0.
7-0. So next, we're going to minutes of the May 25th special meeting. If I could have A motion, Councillor Bigger, please.
Yes, Your Worship, I'll make a motion that the minutes for the May 25th, 2026 special meeting be approved as presented.
And that is seconded by Councillor Thompson. On the question? Being there is none, please vote. It might go down on me again. 7-0. Motion carried, 7-0. So next we have unfinished business, 355 Hampton Road. Revert back to residential. I would ask Mr. Coburn, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through Your Worship to council. So on the agenda is 355 Hampton Road is a request to cancel the existing development agreement for that particular property. As council may recall, in the fall of 2025, the previous property owner had approached council requesting an amendment to the existing agreement with the intent of leaving the accessory structures on the property and to continue to move the property forward as a commercial development. Council had made the decision in December, I believe, and at that time to decline the request to amend the agreement. Since then, the property has transferred. Property has been purchased. As part of the previous agreement, there was a requirement to remove the accessory structures. They have been removed from the lot. Also, under that previous agreement, it was the responsibility of the previous property owner to approach council to outline the intended future plans for that property, which in essence did not move forward. That would be subsequent to council's declining of amending the agreement. So what's before council tonight is a request to cancel the agreement, which is permitted under the Community Planning Act. With the cancellation of that agreement, the property will revert to residential, which was the zoning prior to the rezoning to commercial. And the property then can be developed in accordance with the current zoning provisions for a R1 zone, single or two family. That does not exclude the potential for the current owner to approach council at some point in time to potentially look at additional development, but at this stage, it brings it back to that R1 zoning. The current owner is attending. If there's any questions from council to the owner, or they can be directed to me as well. Thank you, Your Worship.
I think what we'll do, council, I'm going to ask for a motion and a seconder, and then go to the question, okay? So, Mr. Councillor Baker on the motion.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I move council authorize the cancellation of the Section 59 development agreement between the town and the landowner of 355 Hampton Road, PIDs 0025, 0787, and 3022, 0644, and direct the clerk to file a notice of cancellation with the Land Registration Office pursuant to Section 59(6) of the Community Planning Act of New Brunswick.
Thank you very much. It's council, seconded by Deputy Mayor Luck. On the question. There are no questions. Can call for the vote, please? Yeah, 236, okay. Just let me know when it's done there, Lisa.
7-0.
Motion carried 7-0. And next item is 236 Hampton Road. Changes requires to the current development agreement to be canceled and reverted back to single residential. And I will go to Mr. Coburn, please.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to council. The previous item was a great segue into this item. So as council will recall, we did go through a municipal plan amendment as well as a rezoning for 236 Hampton Road, which permitted which granted approval to the development of an aging in place community. Through the actual design, getting into the detailed design of that particular property, as well as the developer came back to the town with just some additional request of the property, specifically the introduction of a single detached dwelling. It also identified the need for a stormwater management pond on the property, as well as the property owner, the developer, was successful in acquiring an additional strip of land that abutted the property. Given all those elements, it became a little easier in this stage to simply cancel the agreement and bring it back to R1 and start the process again, rather than trying to amend an existing agreement and introduce those elements into it. So at this stage, it's not sort of canceling the entire project. That's not what the goal here is. It's basically to reset and allow the project to move forward with those elements being introduced. One of the other changes is the actual roadway through it will now provide ingress, egress from Ranch rather than having both on the Hampton Road. Just provides for a more smoother transition of traffic in this particular area. So with that, Your Worship, I'm open to any questions that council may have.
So we'll follow the same process. If I could have a motion, and then we can call for the question. Okay, so Councillor Olson, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd move that council authorize the cancellation of Section 59 development agreement between the town and the landowner of 236 Hampton Road, PID 00251843 and 30240527, and direct the clerk to file a notice of cancellation with the Land Registration Office pursuant to Section 59(6) of the Community Planning Act of New Brunswick.
Thank you, Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Donovan. So on the question. Straightforward, seeing there's none, please vote. Oh, Councillor Beggar, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Through you to the Manager of Planning and Development. I guess the revised site plan makes it apparent enough, but I just want to be absolutely sure. This still includes the multi-unit building as well. That's correct, right? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Miller, you have a question?
Yeah, I guess it must be the process. We have to go back through another rendition bit. To me, this one's actually even smaller than the last one, and the difference is we're going on to a different entryway on Ranch versus the other one. So, okay.
I'll have Mr. Coburn reply to that, please.
Through you, Your Worship. Yeah, in terms of some of the units, again, there will be an opportunity as we move into the public hearing phase to actually sort of dive deeper into the details of this one. But there's been some slight adjustments that will be coming forward. Entrance off the Ranch Avenue is one, and some of the units have gone to semi-detached. I believe the other ones, they were more 3-unit terrace, but overall the unit count is still relatively the same. Yep. If I can add, the other thing is the only access off Ranch is mainly for the townhouses. The multi-unit building obviously will front Hampton Road, and that would be sort of the primary. That sort of upper end off the Hampton Road would be the main access through there. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, we've had the motion moved and seconded on the question. We've had our questions, so could we please vote on the first motion? I'm out again.
7-0.
Motion carried 7-0. Second motion, could I please have a second, Councillor Beggar?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move council direct the town clerk to set a public hearing date for July 21st, 2026, pursuant to requirements of Community Planning Act for the rezoning of the reverted land at 236 Hampton Road, as well as the lands at 11 Ranch Avenue, from single or two-family residential R1 to multiple residential R2, and refer the item to the Planning Advisory Committee for their written comments.
And that is seconded by Councillor Miller. So on the question. Seeing there is none, please vote. Thank you. That's the end of that one. And so we're going on to correspondence. Seeing there is none. Bylaws, nothing tonight. So new business. Tender. We have a tender in front of us. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Donovan.
Thank you. I would move that council approve the award of tender 2026 TQ05-6 Millennium Drive Phase 2 to low bidder Debley Enterprises for the tender amount of $1,177,815 plus applicable HST, and further approve the reallocation of required capital funding from the 2026 street capital budget surplus.
Seconded by Councillor Deputy Mayor Luck. On the question, please. On the question, Councillor Luck? Deputy Mayor Luck?
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to Mr. Logier. I guess, I don't know, my computer keeps going blank. But anyway, just a quick question. So I'm assuming that I have no issues with the tender, and it's great that we're, I guess compared to some of the cost, it's the best deal of the three. Just wondering about the continued plan. It's going to look similar to what we started. And what's the long-term plan for, I know that, just with the cost, it's not feasible to get all of the road paved, but we are doing it in very small chunks, and I'm just wondering what the long-term kind of vision for Millennial Drive is in terms of when that will be completed to our borders. Thank you.
Thank you, through your worship. This current phase will carry the multi-use trail and the road width and the drainage systems that were initially started in the first phase from the intersection with the arterial up to the Shanix. We've identified this small portion to the home hardware, the first parking lot. The eventual plan is to take the same design the rest of the way to the municipal border with our neighboring community. What we're seeing is that as the project gets a little bit more complicated in certain areas, the costs do go up. Really, it's a function of the budget that will be allocated by council in the fall. So the town staff will look at the remaining project, calculate the remaining distance based on the unit prices that we've seen the last two phases, project what that would be. If it's a reasonable amount that council historically brings forward, that have approved in the past, we'll present that to council as a continuous phase. Otherwise, we'll probably look at phases that are in the same value that we presented previously. If council has an appetite for doing the rest all in one phase for, just pulling a number, $5 million, that's a discussion that can be had at the time of budget. The design will be completed based on what is approved at the budget time of budget. So we will review, so we'll have a version that we can say, here's a third phase and then the fourth phase, or should council want to go the full length, we'll have an estimated number so that we can decide if that's a budget jump that wishes to be taken at that time.
Thank you very much. A follow-up? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to Mr. Logier. Just wondering, because that is a very busy street, do we have communications with the town of Rothesay? Because of course, at some point, our side is going to be very wonderful and beautiful, and then it stops. And I'm just wondering if we're communicating with the town of Rothesay in terms of, I guess what their plans are so that the entire street is usable, like within the next few years.
I know that you know, our director of community services has spoken with the community services, the recreation director down in Rothsay with respect to the trail development. And I believe the former, Her Worship O'Hara, the former mayor, had talked to the mayor of Rothsay previously as well, and there was no agreed upon schedule where it would be sort of matching at the same time. My engineering manager has spoken with the engineering team down in Rothsay. They too don't have a defined path that would line up exactly with what we have. But what we would do is similar to what we've done with the Hampton Road. When the time comes that we have a project that will definitely join up with their streets, we meet with their team, show them our plans, and then they can decide if it's going to jive with what they've got planned or not. Otherwise, what we do is we try to keep them well informed of where we're going to be ending, the timeline that we're going to be ending. Obviously, we can't control the discussions and the budget allocations that they've made, but we do every effort that we can to let them know what we're doing. But they don't necessarily divulge to us their sequence and their timing. You know, they go through the same budget process that we go through.
Thank you very much. And if we could go to the vote. Out again. This has never happened to me.
7-0.
Motion passed, 7-0.
Scholarship.
Okay.
Scholarship.
The next item is scholarship. Councillor Donovan, please.
Thank you. I would move that council approve the scholarship committee's recommendations as proposed for the 2026 scholarship recipients, and consideration of the requested increase from $750 to $1,000 be referred to the 2027 budget process.
That's seconded by Councillor Bigger. And on the question. So there were 2 points to that motion. We're good? Please vote. Sorry. Motion carried, 7-0.
Yeah.
What's next?
So this is the Build Canada Fund.
Okay, yes. Hampton Road, Build Canada Strong Fund of 2 million plus, and I'd like to say a thank you to Secretary Wayne Long for his efforts for us to obtain this money. And if I could have a motion, please, Councillor Olson.
Thank you, Worship. Whereas the town of Quispamsis has been approved for funding under the Build Canada Strong Fund, BCSF, for the Hampton Road Water Distribution System Expansion Project in the amount of $2,002,000. And whereas the acceptance of these funds requires the municipality to enter into a contribution agreement with the Government of Canada, now therefore be it resolved that 1. Quispamsis Council formally accepts the Build Canada Strong Fund allocation of $2,002,000 for the Hampton Road Water Distribution System Expansion Project. 2. The Mayor and Council are hereby authorized to execute and sign the contribution agreement and any associated documents on behalf of the town of Quispamsis.
And that's seconded by Councillor Bigger. Any on the question?
Yes, a question.
Okay, so we're going to start with Councillor McDonald, then Councillor Donovan, then Bigger. Councillor Bigger. Councillor McDonald, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's always great, of course, to see our other government partners stepping up and assisting us. Of course, all of these agreements are subject to a number of conditions. And I guess I have a couple of questions related to those. One is it references a requirement that all remaining project funding has been secured prior to entering into a funding agreement. Do we know the status of that requirement, and have we met it?
Mr. Watson, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor McDonald and others. The funding arrangements for the Hampton Road Water Expansion Project were largely the result of commitments of previous council in recognition that there is still, at that time, hope of securing additional funding. So council in the past had approved the full funding through borrowing and use of reserves as required in order to pay for the project, knowing that requirement would be offset by any funds received through Bill Canada Strong.
So thank you, Mr. CAO. One more.
Just a minute, please.
sorry.
Okay, until I catch up. I've got, just a sec. Okay, follow-up question, Councillor McDonald.
Yes, the second question relates to, this document suggests that there is consultation required with the Indigenous peoples. I guess I'm wondering what the status of those consultations might be and where we are in that requirement. Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Watson, please.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Councillor McDonald and to others, we have received an exemption from the Bill Canada Strong Fund Administration that exempts us from that consultation requirement.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Watson. So, seeing there's no more questions, could we have a vote, please?
Deputy Mayor.
Deputy Mayor?
You got it. 7-0.
Motion carried, 7-0. Next on the item is nominating committee recommendations. The nominating committee met and has agreed to these recommendations. Thank you for everyone for helping. And so if I could have a motion, please.
So I do have some options there.
Oh, just a sec. My computer keeps going down. I have to refresh it all
I
the
can
time.
speak on the
Okay.
options that are listed.
That's right, okay. I'm going to have Ms. McGinnis speak, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. You'll notice under your e-scribe the two options that are noted for resolutions. So the first one is verbatim, that was on the staff report. The second option would be required if there was any further discussion needed relating to any of the appointments, and that would be to refer that back to the nominating committee. But the second and the third motion would be time sensitive, especially number 2, relating to the community committee members and the extension of those. So I put that motion separate and also the nominating committee recommendations regarding the committee governance review. There's 2 items there regarding 2 committees, one for disbanding and then the other for a review. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, so Councillor Bayer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, I'll open the bid with making a motion that council approve the nominating committee recommendations as presented.
Thank you very much. May I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Councillor Olson. Thank you very much. On the question. Councillor Donovan, do you have a question? Okay.
Thank you. I guess my question just is regarding the transition of the scholarship committee. So I've been fairly lucky to have served on that committee for the last 5 years. It's actually one of my favorite committees, believe it or not. It's we meet once a year. It's 1 councillor, 2 community representatives, and then Miss Burton Dixon. I always find it interesting because you really get to learn more about the community and the types of graduates that are coming out of it. I guess my question, I would be against removing that committee or transitioning it. I just would like a little bit of background as to what brought this up or what the thought process is regarding transitioning it. If there's some sort of pain point that has been identified, because I other than looking to transition it, there's no other explanation as to what the issue is or why we're doing so. So as somebody who sits on that board or sat on that board previously, I would really like an explanation to that, please.
Thank you very much, and I'm going to go to Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Worship, and through you to Councillor Donovan and to the rest of council. I think probably my best summary statement, I think, with respect to this one, Councillor, is that there was an interest in moving the relatively small amount into an administrative function, knowing that the authority to grant the scholarship would remain with council, but that the process to recommend would follow a process similar as what we've done with other recent committees where we establish a matrix, like the community investment funds, for example, establish a scoring matrix, apply the scoring matrix, and then make a recommendation to council.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another question. Deputy Mayor Luck?
It's more so just for clarity. I just want to make sure that the first motion covers all the stuff in option 2. It does. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
That's great. Okay, can I call for the vote, please? I'm out again.
7-0.
Motion carried 7-0. And the next item is Woodley Park. And I would ask Mr. Colburn just to give us a, sorry?
Queensbury Heights.
Oh, my computer's down again.
Queensbury Heights, Lot 6B.
Oh, Queensbury Heights, Lot 6B. Mr. Colburn, please.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, Your Worship, to council. We have received a subdivision application for the creation of a single residential lot, Lot 6B on the subdivision plan, but it also proposes the creation of land for public purposes. So it comes to council through section 77(1)G of the Community Planning Act, as well as subdivision bylaw. Any land for public purposes requires, any plan that proposes the setting aside of land for public purposes requires the assent of council. This particular portion, parcel of land, as I've indicated in my staff report, is important in terms of the overall stormwater management plan in this particular area. It will give us that sort of land protection of that particular water course that ultimately will allow us to look at options for stormwater management in this particular area. It does adjoin with existing lands owned by the town, so it sort of completes that corridor. And it's a great opportunity through simple land for public purpose acquisition to get this land. I'll leave it there if there's any questions of council. Thank you.
Seeing there's no questions, I'll call for the vote. Sorry, Councillor Miller, would you please put the motion forward?
Oh, I'll do the motion. I have a question. So council grant assent to the Queensbury Heights Lot 6B tentative subdivision plan. So the final subdivision plan can be approved by the development officer and registered provincial land registration system vesting the LPP and the town council further approve the excess LPP land area to be credited towards fulfillment of future LPP obligations under the Queensbury Heights subdivision development.
Thank you very much. It's seconded by Councillor Thompson. So on the question,
Yeah,
Councillor Miller, on
yeah.
the question?
It's a question or maybe more of a comment on the secondary piece of land that's super long and behind everybody's houses. I can't help but look when I enlarge a picture that those houses that embut it have cut down absolutely every tree up until the edge of that. So we can't change what's done now, but I don't know in future if there is some type of bylaw that you can't clear your whole, I know you're not supposed to say stuff about people's land, but if there's a bylaw that you can't clear all the way back, because I've seen it happen in different areas and all of a sudden somebody else buys the next land and they clear it and everybody gets upset. So it's like when I'm looking at I can't see the road there, but you go up Montana and then that big long piece, like those people, there's absolutely no trees in this picture. So when you talk about water preservation and that, and especially with all these sloping areas there, that I'm just thinking I'm okay with doing what we're doing here, but I'm just thinking there should be something in the future that you can't clear absolutely everything on your land. So thanks.
I'd like to have Mr. Colburn speak to that, please.
Thank you, Worship, through you to Councillor Miller. So 2 items. One is, obviously, this lends very much the rationale and report of actually the town owning the land. You get control of what can happen around these water courses. Secondly, yes, that is being considered and will be brought forward to council through the new zoning bylaw. We're introducing landscaping and tree preservation for particular zones. So we're getting into the percentage of trees and things that you can actually cut on a residential property, which will actually be enhanced when you get closer to these water courses and wetlands and those types of things as well. So it's.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coburn. Councillor Olson, did you have a question? No. Okay. I'll call for the vote. I'm out again. What's the next item? That's 7-0.
Yep, 7-0.
Motion carried 7-0. We're going to do the next one. I'm going to have Mr. Watson speak to this one regarding a hot dog stand. Mr. Watson, please.
Thank you, Worship, and through you to the rest of council as well. Draw your attention to the staff report in your package with respect to an interest from a resident in having a hot dog cart that travels to various points within the town over the summer months. Staff are supportive of the application with the conditions that you note in the staff report, and specifically with respect to liability insurance, public health approval. Operating on the Qplex property and on Canada Day is not permitted, given that we have an existing concession vendor at the Qplex, and will be fully populated on Canada Day as well. That we do not provide power or other services, and that the vendor would be responsible for waste removal as well. So the application is for parks, fields, and beaches, not easements or any other public spaces. As a consequence of us not charging applicants for this type of activity, there's no real financial implication for us. But we don't incur any additional operating cost either. So the recommendation is to approve the application, and knowing that the applicant would be working with staff on scheduling, and so that we would know in advance where the stand would be located through the summer months. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. So if I could have a mover and a seconder, and then we'll go on the question. Moved by Councillor Donovan, and second by Councillor Donovan, sorry, go ahead.
Council approved the request to operate a hot dog cart at the municipal parks and beaches for the 2026 summer season, and that staff work with the applicant to coordinate scheduling locations and to ensure that the terms and conditions presented are met and maintained, including the execution of an agreement.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Thompson. On the question, I have a few. Okay. Councillor Luck, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just had a question in terms of bylaw or process, because this would be something, food trucks are becoming more popular. And I'm just wondering, should we or do we have some type of bylaw that kind of lays this out so that not every person that wants to do it, because it seems like it is something that's becoming more and more popular, if we should have something just to give some kind of benchmarks and kind of goalposts like around. And then that way it saves people, as long as they're adhering to that, coming to council. So I guess that's my question. I'm not sure if I should direct that to Mr. Colburn or Mr. Watson, but you guys can fight over who wants to answer.
Mr. Colburn's going to take that one.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to the Deputy Mayor, thank you for the question. And yes, we are in the process of crafting a mobile vending license as well as a business license that will set out the standards and requirements in order to operate these mobile vending stands through our municipality. That will be coming forth as well as part of the zoning bylaw amendment update that's coming. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Thank you. We have 3 councillors would like to ask a question. Going to start with Councillor Miller, then Councillor Bigger, then Councillor McDonald. Councillor Miller, please.
Thank you, Worship. I guess I just have a couple of questions, but Ms. Dana Burton-Dixon had to leave. My questions were twofold. Having hot dog stand, I'm fine for that. But my questions are, when you're at Meanings Cove Beach, I believe we have a provider that rents out the canteen there. So I think that would be in conflict if we still do, and I don't, that was my question, because if somebody runs a canteen at Meanings Cove Park, you would have an issue with the beach. Sorry.
We'll get that answer clarified for you.
Yeah.
Okay,
These are
'cause
just,
we're not, yep.
yeah,
yep.
these are things, like I said, I'm okay,
Mr.
but just
Watson
to make
has
sure that
noted your
that's.
question, and we will,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the second thing is, when my son played minor baseball, they also sold hot dogs and burgers and pop and that at the baseball fields when they played. So is this going to be something that you're going to have to talk to KV minor baseball about, or things like that? Because that's how a lot of those teams raise their extra funds for their tournaments. So it's just that if you don't get that backlash from, you know, from the baseball teams or the soccer teams, that's just, I know what happened. Like, my son actually played in Hampton, didn't play here, but I know every game that we sold hot dogs and pop and stuff like that at all the games. So it's just to coordinate those kind of things with, because maybe not everybody has one either, right? So they'd love to have the machine there, but just heads up, that's
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Your questions are valid, and Mr. Watson will check into that. Thank you. Councillor Baker, please. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
No problem. You're doing great. Thank you, Your Worship. Those are interesting questions from Councillor Miller. I'm interested in those answers as well. I also wish that this is probably best directed to the Director of Community Services, but perhaps I'll just lop this out, and if the CAO can speak to it tonight, that's great. But I mean, I think this sort of thing is, in one sense, it's a little surprising we haven't kind of discussed this sort of thing before. As the Deputy Mayor points out, food trucks are a staple kind of in our communities these days. People tend to really enjoy them, and I think they add some fun and quality and even staying power when it comes to certain events and whatnot. People can have a snack while they're there and so on. I guess I just sort of wonder, so on a general level, notwithstanding what the Councilor Miller just pointed out about competition and whatnot, I think it's a perfectly fine idea, generally speaking, sort of objectively. I just was curious about the vision or the sense of how this grafts in. Is this likely to open a sort of a bevy of requests by independent food providers? We certainly have had some cultural events and things like that where we've had at the Arts and Culture Park where there's food suppliers, and those have been great events to be part of. And so I just wonder, does this factor in to sort of the overall vision related to sort of some of our major recreation assets and our strategy going forward? I'm interested in that discussion, but it's not something that I believe we've discussed previously as a council, or that Community Services has brought before us. And so I just would be interested to know if the CAO can speak to that, or otherwise we'll just ask Ms. Burton-Dixon that and get it later.
We'll have Mr. Watson. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Mr. Watson, please.
All good. Thanks, Your Worship. Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Councillor Baker. Appreciate the question, and you're quite right in that I don't recall either any broader conversation around this. But that said, I would suggest that the presence of a vendor could be used in a way to help further the relationship that exists between attendees at an event and that event. So to your point about whether or not that kind of fits in well with the overall community engagement piece of the community services, I would say it does. And that this might be seen as perhaps a bit of a pilot to see, what is the level of engagement that results, what are the challenges, if any, that are encountered along the way, and knowing that there's associated bylaw that will be appropriately overseeing the overall vision toward implementation of these types of vendors. I think we're in good shape, and in a way that certainly doesn't contradict the spirit and intent of the Department of Community Services. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. And Councillor McDonald, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm quite happy to see that we're requiring liability insurance and the approval of the Department of Health. I guess once in the broader scope of things, when we're defining these sorts of activities, it might be useful to define what we mean by hot dog cart. Like, is this a food truck? Is it a device on the back of a pickup truck? Is it a bicycle with a steamer attached to the front of it? Like what exactly is it we're talking about? And maybe that'll be defined in whatever agreement we might reach. Thank you, Your Worship.
Mr. Watson, please.
Thank you, Worship, and thanks to Councillor McDonald. Great point, and yes, I would expect that detail will be articulated in the agreement that we are expected to have executed between the town and the vendor. Thanks for the question.
Thank you. And we have one final question from Deputy Mayor Luck, please.
It's more of a process question. Because there's a few questions that are outstanding, would we be able to, I don't know, Lisa, you might have to help me. Is it refer and defer this potentially to an email vote? I wouldn't want to wait till July because then, the summer is half over. So, this resident would like an answer, but I'm wondering if we could potentially do an email vote because it would be really nice to have those questions answered before we make our vote. I don't know. I guess I'm just.
If I could, Mr. Watson, I was just going to suggest, Ms. McGinnis, if you could read the motion again, please.
Council approved the request to operate a hot dog cart at municipal parks and beaches for the 2026 summer season, and that staff work with the applicant to coordinate schedule locations and to ensure that the terms and conditions presented are met and maintained, including the execution of an agreement.
Thank you very much. And so I just wanted everybody to hear the motion one more time, and I'll go to Mr. Watson with Deputy Luck's concern.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to the Deputy Mayor and others. I was taking note of the conversation as it evolved here this evening, and I noted that the potential conflict with vendor at Meanings Cove Beach deserves to be explored. I don't understand there to be an agreement now, a concession agreement with Meanings Cove, but if there is, then we can certainly place that as a condition of this agreement to avoid any conflict therewith. Similarly, avoiding conflict with other vendors, or other events at which concessions could be made available. We can certainly enter that into the agreement. And the other questions were kind of the broader implications that Councillor Bigger raised. I hope I addressed those satisfactorily, as well as nature of the vehicle. We can certainly, as I alluded to earlier, make sure that that's included in the executed agreement. So with that, I would hope that Council would feel comfortable moving forward, knowing that those, particularly those scheduling conflicts or conflict with another concession vendor, have been addressed. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. I think that put us all at ease. So I'm going to call for the vote.
Yes. Just waiting for Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, she's good.
Okay, thank you.
Motion carried 7-0.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We'll see if my computer wants me to go to the next thing. So the next is reports. Is there anything on the reports anybody would like to bring up? Councillor Olson?
No, does that include remunerations?
Yeah, all the
Yeah.
reports are listed.
Yeah, no, I have nothing to say.
Everybody's good. Councillor Thompson, did you have something on the reports?
Just the town treasurer's report. Make sure that we read that.
And everybody's good?
Yep.
Any other questions on reports? Motion for vote?
No.
Just an adjournment, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Move.
That was a move to adjournment. I have a seconder. Just a moment, people. I need a seconder, please. Oh, Councillor Luck, Deputy Mayor Luck, sorry. On the question. That's passed 7-0. We're going to have a quick stretch, and we're going to resume to open committee of the whole and continue with Mr. Loget. Thank you very much. Let's take five. I don't know what's happened here.
So now it's committee of the whole, and now it's
Will
committee
be
of the whole.
open items like the rest of Gary's on the Hampton Road. And then one other item in open and then one item in closed. 3 more items.
Even like when the men's, like football, high school, I guess that's not, but it's a field.
Hello, everyone. We're back to Committee of the Whole, and we're on Committee of the Whole, working with Mr. Loge, is talking about the Hampton Road streetscape. So I'm sorry I had to interrupt you before. Mr. Loge, would you please continue?
Thank you, Your Worship. And again, it's sort of as the overview, it's really nothing earth-shattering or new, but council members usually will be the ones that will get the most questions quite frequently, and this is really to give you as much information as we have now, some of the steps that you'll see over the next little while. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to give you that background. Sort of carrying forward where we left off with respect to the servicing, like I said earlier, it is primarily a water main project, so all of the lots will have water lines to them, similar to what we have down the Hampton Road, further towards the model farm. Council will recall, we do have the bylaw in place that if they're not connected to the system right away, that after the 1 year after the construction, then they will be charged that standby component of the water fee. So there is an incentive for the people to connect. We have had some inquiries, for example, up off Cedar Ridge that we're having on the Hampton Road now. And Mr. Colburn can probably attest to the fact that as soon as developers found out that we're bringing water on the Hampton Road, his phone started ringing off the hook. So it is going to be a boon to development. We've got, for example, Mrs. Lane that was here this evening, next door to us. Both of those individuals are constructing their projects with the understanding and the anticipation of water being there and phasing their construction to line up with the installation of the water main. So it's going to see some substantial development in the town, that's for sure. Anything that we have, as I said earlier, on vacant parcels, we'll make every effort to connect. If we know about it, we will connect to it. There is some reimbursement to the town for under the water bylaws with respect to the connection fees, with respect to some of the construction standby, fire flows. So we will be recouping some of the costs of the project, but by no means the full cost of the project will be part of that. Just sort of give you the overview. We've been pressing the consultants to have their tender documents prepared this week. We're anticipating that we'll give them 4 weeks to review the project. Generally, tenders, we see 3 weeks, but with the size of this project, we wanted to give them a 4-week tender period, which would mean it would close around the 16th to the 17th of July. We would see recommendations coming to council at the July 21st meeting, contractors on site the first week of August. What we expect is that there will be some seasonal construction that would likely shut down weather considerations the first week of December. That having been said, we have had some construction go beyond that first week, but we're using December 1st as an asphalt date. There could be some side amenities that could still continue, but for all intents and purposes, we're using that as a potential close down date. We resume again in May of 27. There are some components, again, depending on the type of spring that we have, that we could be on site a little earlier, but we're using May as an assumed start date, which would mean a substantial completion of August of 2027. Now, substantial completion in our sense of the word means that everything's been installed. We are still in a maintenance period, but it's the contractor would theoretically be off-site. As I touched on a little earlier, some of the services that would be connected, water, sewer, for example, could still be used well in advance of a substantial completion date, and the billing would be appropriately calculated as well. Again, it's the two main functions are going to be weather, infrastructure, delivery of components, and also the contractor that we receive, the contractor that gets the bid. All of the contractors working in the town now, QM Construction, Debley Construction, Galbraith Construction, are all in the town with the intent that they will be bidding this job. They've all indicated to my staff that we're waiting for this. We just want to continue, and we're just going to plow ahead. So we expect that there's going to be some level of competition. I don't know if we'll see anybody buying the job, so to speak, but I do think that we will not see the in the sort of inflated pricing. Well, I think we'll see a true value of the unit prices for the project as we go forward. So that's, like I said, that's it in a nutshell. Really, the intent is to give you that broad overview. During the break, Councillor Dunham asked about options for example, construction at night. That is a type of discussion that we'll be having with the successful bidder. Obviously, right now, construction season, what we see, normal street capital goes 7 a.m., 7 p.m. We look at the sky out now, and it goes dark at 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock. That's a consideration. We've looked at overnight construction in some areas. We haven't been very successful with large projects because of the residents. This is primarily residential community, and the people value their sleep. And as well, even though it will be less intrusive for the traffic, a lot of times evening construction comes with a premium, a cost. The lighting, the extra safety precautions, things of that nature. So it's good with a small project. If you'll recall, we did this, as Councilor brought up, the intersection down at Campbell Drive, the Pettenco Road in the evening, just to avoid traffic. But that did come at a little bit of a premium for the safety and the lighting. We'll be looking at phasing. We'll be looking at crew sizes, the quantity of equipment that we'll have on site. These are all things that we will eventually get to council once we have the contract signed, and we have a plan of attack. The goal is to not only keep the residents advised with the portal through the engagement portal, but we'll also try to keep council advised ahead of anything that's being posted. So what we would expect to see is that you've seen in the past, emails or staff reports to you may not be a council format report, but there will be something for your knowledge so that you can have that information prior to it being circulated to the public at large. So that, as I say to my team, give me stuff so I can answer questions intelligently. I would like to be able to hopefully give that to you as well so you can answer the questions intelligently.
Thank you, Mr. Loge. That was a lot of information, a lot to unpack. A lot of moving parts, as Mr. Loge indicated. I mean, there was water main, stormwater, AT, trees, grants, tender packages. Like, it's massive. It's a big project. And thank you to the staff for moving it forward and getting it to this point. And there are questions, so I'm going to start on my right with Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to try to clarify from my understanding, so the water work that's currently underway, which I think is part of the funding agreement with the federal government that we received, it's kind of related to and certainly beneficial to this, but it's its own standalone tendered kind of work, so separate and distinct, but connected to.
So what we anticipate seeing is one large tender that will have water, storm sewer, everything will be in the tender. So we'll extract the funding component out, like the budget. We'll track the water side of it for the Build Canada, the grant, but it is going to be one large tender. What we anticipate a second tender will be for the pressure reduction chamber that we will require, because it is such a specialized type of a project that a general contractor would charge us a premium to do it. So we would put it out for contractors that specialize in that. Now, one of the local people bidding this could also bid on it, with the understanding, though, that it's going to be a standalone. So this project, at this stage of the game, we're envisioning 2 tenders happening for it over the next little while.
So
Yes, follow-up question?
Sorry, yes,
Yeah.
thank you. So the water work that's being done currently is not what you're talking about.
The water work that's on Cedar Ridge to
Correct.
Clairwood Drive is its own, that's last year's carried forward, that's correct.
So which project was the federal government funding for?
The water on the Hampton Road.
Oh, okay, thank you, Your Worship.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for the clarity on the 2 tenders, too. I'm going to go to Councillor Luck and then Councillor Miller. Deputy Mayor Luck, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just through you to Mr. Loge, just a clarifying question for next Wednesday's public session. Is it clear that, like, the plans are set and the session is just an information session and people aren't going to come to provide feedback on changes?
That's correct. It's if council will recall, through your worship to the deputy mayor, when we did the engagement strategy with our consultants, they had a phase 1, phase 2, and it's basically similar to what you see some of the times the federal government will do. You bought a car, and bought something from Canada, we're gonna encourage the fact that, hey, you bought something from Canada, so it's the same thing. You've done this, you've had your input, you told us what you wanted to see, we heard you, this is what we're building. Oh, by the way, when we build it, you'll see phasing, you'll see dust, you'll see noise, you'll see one lane, you'll see this. So those are the types of things. Or it's also an opportunity for us to say, is there anything that we're missing from a resident or a business? Oh, I've got a wedding, or I've got this. Okay, we need to know those types of things, and we'll try to coordinate that.
Ask a follow-up question. Thank you for doing that. I think that's going to be really valuable. I'm just wondering if we're doing that, is there a possibility, and I'm just throwing out the idea, because again, not everyone's going to come physically, is to use social media to even do a small little video snippet with maybe our consultant to just explain some of that so that the broader public hears some of that messaging, because again, it's a new thing that we're doing, and I think it's wonderful to communicate with the residents, but it's just, I don't think all of them are going to show up next Wednesday, so I just think it might be an opportunity to use social media to get that message.
Through your worship, the deputy mayor, that is what we anticipate having is all the product of that meeting will be put on the portal. So I don't know if we'll get to the stage of, say, a little snippet video, but the information will be there in an interactive format, so that if a person had a question, it would be either sent through to the consultants or through the staff. We would respond directly to that particular individual. But again, they have an engagement strategy that they've been promoting, and we're going to stick with that. And if it generates things like, hey, we've got a FAQ video or whatever, anything that we can sort of follow through under the strategy and the scope of work and the budget that they've assigned, then we'll definitely look at and explore.
Thank you very much. Who did I say was next? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was great. I was really happy to hear all the things you looked at, like, can you do it at night? You didn't, the one that you didn't mention was, I've been to a few areas where they actually work on weekends once in a while. I don't know if that's a premium but I'm thinking we've got such a short season, especially in New Brunswick. Because not obviously, but the hope would be the water at least gets down as far as we can, so the buildings that are being built right now will have access. And then you also talked about places where you may be putting a 2-inch pipe, a 4-inch, or a 6-inch, because I'm also thinking, in my mind, part of the Pettingill probably in the next 3 to 5 years may have to be repaved, and is that big piece of land down there also, part of the loop? I don't know, but no, I guess the weekend's kind of the only question to. Sure. It's just do they actually do that? Thanks.
Through your worship to Councillor Miller, the weekend is definitely one of the things that we discuss with the contractor on all our projects. Generally, the first response we get back from the contractor is, listen, our people have to rest too. That type of, and generally they go, but they follow that up with, but if we're pressed, we will. And generally they make up Saturdays because of weather or whatever. So Saturdays are not off the table. Sundays generally are, unless they can do something very defined in a small scope. With regards to the water mains and the future layouts, our director of planning here he's also part of our negotiating team. He is our negotiating team, working with a lot of the property owners. And what we're looking at from a water link, currently the design shows us going down the Dow Road, that is between the Timmy's and the McDonald's, out to the pad that they've got there, and eventually with a connection down to the Pettingill. We won't see anything on the Pettingill as part of this project. It'll just be servicing the parcels. So that's our target, is to have that. As Mrs. Lane, we're going to be going up Ranch Avenue at the end of our driveway. We'll stop there. The next door neighbor will be doing the same, taking the fire service to that. So those types of things have been reviewed by the planning group, our engineering team, so that we try to leverage as much as we can when we can. But if it's not paved and somebody comes to us with something new, hey, listen, we'll put it in the ground. I just don't want to put something in the ground after it's been paved.
Thank you very much. Councillor Beggar, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm thinking just to what you'd said before about how some of the staff, you think maybe even more excited than the council to see it come together. And this phase of it has been a hard wrought battle a little bit just to get to this point. So it's exciting to see it come into being. I just, maybe I'm falling prey to the very thing that the deputy mayor was just asking about, and you were clarifying about people coming in saying, oh, have you thought about putting racing stripes on this or something, after that kind of part of the work has been done. But I guess I'll go back to something that the mayor asked us at the very beginning of tonight about feedback during the campaign and the election. And I did hear, I must admit, because of course the Hampton Road project is out there and many people are talking about it, and I found most people are quite excited about it, relieved, I suppose, even. But I did hear a lot of talk about the Hampton Road Timmy's entrance. And I suspect we're past that part of the process. But I just wonder, through you, Your Worship, to the Director of Engineering and Works, if there's potential for consideration of closing that, and then you go down Dow and maybe they can queue up on the rear end there where that bank goes down behind Tim's and come up into the drive-through with a hairpin there or something. I just wonder if there's been discussion about that. I take into account as well, I also take into account what you're saying about preserving our businesses.
Yep.
And we certainly don't want to make trouble for our businesses. So, yeah, thank you.
Through your worship to Councillor Baker, respecting the committee of the whole process and some of the legalities with property acquisitions, there have been discussions with those property owners to that effect. The nature of the discussions that we've had, without saying too much, is such that to not jeopardize future negotiations, phase one will leave the intersection and the area as it is. That having been said, there is discussion on the table for reconfiguration of that area, and it will require some sensitive discussions with the owner, who have been demonstrated they're willing to have those discussions. But the immediate reaction always is to any of the businesses, this is how I make my money. Why you can't do this to me now? What we said, okay, well, what can we do? And that's where we find ourselves at now. So there is discussions to take us beyond this, and what we felt, rather than hold up the whole project, because certain individuals are amenable to discussions, in good faith, we said, okay, in good faith, we will do this. However, we're going to be sitting down chatting, and they've said, yes, we can sit down and chat.
Thank you. And last question, I think, is Councillor Olson. Yes. Question?
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to address Mr. Logier. I'm looking at the drawing that's here. Is my understanding that there's a phase one? Is this phase one?
It's all through your worship to Councillor Olson. It's all essentially phase one. If you could call it phase 1A, 1B. What we pulled out as a second phase is the pressure reduction chamber, the PRV, which is a large chamber that we've got to put down that is specialized. So the phasing, the only reason we would introduce a phasing is the contract will be everything. The only reason we would do phasing would be if we run out of time in the winter. We'll stop at a defined area, but it's still all under the same contract and the same tender. We won't phase tenders. It will be one big contract, one big tender, but what will be phased will be where we have to stop for the winter, so to speak.
Okay, well, where is the rest of the details on the rest of the drawings? I mean, all that you see here is Peak Drive and the landing.
Through your worship, this was just an illustrative purpose demonstrating the components of it. We have all the packages that if council wants to see I didn't feel the council would want to look at 30 pages of tender drawings, but I can make them available if you want to see them. Next time you're in the office, we can show them to you. But they will be available at the open house on the 24th, and most of that will be the streetscape components, but we will have most of the drawings, the tender drawings, available at that evening as well. But I didn't want to burden council with squinting. I couldn't see it myself in front of me on the screen, so I didn't want to burden council with 35 pages of small.
I'm very familiar with drawings. And
I respect that fact. You've produced more drawings than I've looked at, I would imagine.
Yes, but I just wanted to make sure that is not the project, because it's
no,
about a third of
that's
it.
1 page of 8 pages of actual streetscape, and then there's streetscape, there's electrical drawings that goes with it, there's underground, so there's a whole bunch of it. That's just one small snippet demonstrating that we're putting water, sewer, storm in, and the PRV valve. That was, it was the busiest drawing that we had to demonstrate that's where we went.
So, but when you talk about finishing up in 2027, that's this whole project that you're talking about?
Everything in the tender that couldn't be done because of where we had to stop for the weather.
Where do we stop, Gary, down by Tim Hortons? Do we go around the corner, or is
The
it?
project stops, we are reconfiguring the intersection of Campbell Drive, Pettingill, and Hampton Road. So there's gonna be some lane realignment, some painting of that. There will not be any underground work in the intersection, because that's pretty much done. It'll be basically the sizing of the intersection and how we turn. But the actual underground work will go down the Dow Road that's between Timmy's and McDonald's. And there'll be a little bit of storm sewer work, but that will be the limit of the excavation, so to speak.
So there's,
Just a moment, please. Catch up here. So, Councillor Olson, you have one more question?
okay,
Go ahead, please.
the Dow Road configuration for traffic control and all that stuff is not gonna be changed.
As I mentioned just earlier to Councillor Bigger, through your worship, the Dow Road currently will not be changed, but there is a discussion now to look at that area to see what we can do in the future. But under this current contract and the construction that we have, it will not be changed, respecting the wishes of the business owners in that area, with the understanding that they are coming back to the table for us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor
And if I may, your worship, please, but respecting the fact that it was definitely acknowledged that that configuration of entrances and exits is a hazard that has to be addressed. It's not, the intent is not to say, well, we're gonna leave it as it is forever. We have to do something with it. It will go back to the negotiations of how much, and what is it gonna cost and who's involved, but it is not being taken lightly as we're gonna leave it. That, something has to be done down there, and that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson, do you have a question on the streetscape?
Yes, I do. What's the scope from the, sort of that Campbell Road, Pettingill Road intersection to Peak Drive?
It goes from the McCarran Drive. So we've got, if you recall the design, the streetscape, we've got crossings with refuge islands, similar to what you see down the road. So we're going to be starting at McCarran, where we have the school zone, so we'll put a crossing refuge for that school zone in that area. So there will be less underground work at the McCarran side, but the actual excavation, substantial excavation, will start around the Pinewood intersection down. So it'll go Pinewood all the way to the intersection with the rest, as I mentioned just a bit, that Dow Road being the last of the major excavation area.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a question, so if I could have Deputy Mayor Luck take the chair while I ask the question. My question is about preparing the residents and businesses to knowing what their costs will be if they wish to hook up. How would that be? Will that be addressed at the open house, or that will be addressed with letters to business and residents? How would that work out?
So through your worship, through you, the deputy mayor, to your worship, how that works. But it's our utility bylaw, our water bylaw structure the framework for connection fees. So that will be the first place that we will appoint individuals. Afterwards, it will be a schedule of when they want to connect. But the information to the various property owners, whether it's business or residential, will indicate that we're having water going by. If you're interested, let us know. Then we'll talk to you about what's going to be required of you. So rather than throwing a general FAQ, we'd rather deal specifically with the individuals, so that somebody can say, well, I want to put this, or I want to put that, or I need this. And that way we can help them calculate what they need to have. As the example, up on Cedar Ridge, we've talked to every property owner individually about, do you want to connect? Here's what's your permitting fee. And on top of that, what we said to most of the residents has been, oh, by the way, if there's enough people interested, we can get you all together in a little package, and we can invite quotes from 2 or 3 contractors, and you might be able to share a contractor to put services in at your cost. or if there's enough interest and council's agreeable, some type of a local improvement levy that we want to introduce. So we've had good success in dealing individually with property owners, and we've hoped to follow through in that same type of approach for the commercial district on the Hampton Road.
Thank you very much. It's been a great conversation, a lot of questions. I don't believe we have, or do we have a motion on this? No. No, there's no motion, just strictly discussion? No.
Tim still has his, there's a presentation.
I'm sorry, because my computer's down. There's a presentation from Tim?
on this as well.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go to Tim Roselle, Communications Manager, on a presentation regarding Hampton Road.
I do think the CAO wants to chime in before we get to that, though.
Oh, would you like to chime in?
Sure. Thank you, Worship. And just to kind of wrap up where we've been and where we're headed now with Mr. Roselle. This is exactly what I had hoped would happen. You as council deserve eyes on these types of, especially a big project like Hampton Road, and have opportunity to have a good, robust discussion about it. So I'm really pleased with the discussion tonight. So again, Mr. Lozier has provided you kind of the technical details of what the project looks like, how it's going to get carved up, what the boundaries of the work are. But just as important, and a couple of things that popped up while Mr. Lozier was speaking, were related to communications. So I've asked Tim to kind of lead that work for us, to recognize that absolutely we've got consulting engineers and our engagement folks up at Upland that are helping, but to know that there's a staff member here within the town whose primary responsibility is to communicate this project appropriately, and at all the pieces that we've spoken of already, plus maybe a couple others. That was my invitation to have Tim just speak to you a little bit about that piece, answer any questions you have on the communications front, and then we can move on. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you very much. Mr. Roselle, please.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. And I don't want to belabor the points that we're going to make here because, as has been alluded to, a lot of these have been, at least mentioned in passing during Mr. Logier's presentation. So we'll just get right to it here. If you recall last week, in fact, it'll be a week ago tomorrow, the initial public release went out announcing that we were going to hold a pre-construction open house. And the details of that open house, as has been discussed here, it will be to present final plans to the community and an opportunity for community members to see what exactly is going to happen, and not necessarily soliciting feedback with the idea that those plans would change, but perhaps getting just an overall general feel from how the community sees what these plans are. And so that open house, of course, is scheduled for a couple of weeks from now. Moving on from there, we come to tonight where, where we're providing this update to members of council to bring everyone in on just where things are with this generational project here in our community. Moving ahead, as Mr. Lozier alluded to, the hope is that the project will go to tender perhaps by the end of this week. If it slips into next week, it may end up doing that, but again, fingers being crossed, we hope that gets out sooner rather than later, and that the bidding process can begin with, as Mr. Lozier mentioned, the roughly 4-week timeline for responses from that. Then we move ahead to June 24th, the pre-construction open house right here in council chambers. I've been in communication with the consultants about the setup for that, and there's some discussion as to whether they'll have the larger drawings here as they did when they were engaging the public in the initial consultation, or whether it will be more like individual boards on stands. That people can look at, but that discussion is ongoing, and hopefully we'll have more details about that fairly soon. Then my thought was the very next day to have notification go out to both businesses and residents in the form of individual letters targeting each of those important groups to talk about the pending work and how it may impact their homes or their businesses, and what the town's plan is to mitigate any potential disruptions to those homes and businesses over the course of the several months that the project will be continuing. Forward again to the July 21st meeting of council, the next regular meeting of council, where the tender is expected to come before council for award. And as Mr. Logier alluded to, if and when that occurs and the award is approved, then the idea would be that the successful bidder would likely begin fairly quickly after that, maybe around that first week of August timeline. Still to be determined, obviously the start of construction, we don't know the date of that yet because we don't know who's going to win the bid. And also the follow-up public communications and some of that work and some of that communication will be dependent on the work schedule itself. And as Mr. Logier alluded to, we don't know. It will depend on the successful bidder. Will they have one crew that starts at one spot and just continues to work along until they can't work anymore during this calendar year, or will it be a successful bidder that places 2 or 3 crews and has work being done at various locations all at once? So a lot of that communication can't really be prepared as of yet because we just don't know who that successful bidder is going to be and how they envision the project working. So that is still to be determined. And the caveat being to all of this is that this is a best case scenario timeline. As long as we don't run into any major snags over the next little while, this is sort of the best case scenario. Here we go. Let's get shovels in the ground in early August as planned. But if something happens that certainly can't be avoided within or handled within the allotted time period, then the timeline will obviously have to be adjusted as a result. Just a few other final notes. As Mr. Logier alluded to, the Reimagine Hampton Road project website will remain active throughout the construction period. I've got the link in there in case anyone hasn't had a chance to look at it or hasn't had a chance recently. So the plan is for their construction updates to be posted there, but also shared and posted through through our social media platforms, and anything that will come out in terms of an update will be redirected to that project website, because that is, as we've referred to in other discussions about other topics, that's going to be the single source of truth for that project as it moves along. As Mr. Logier mentioned as well, the expectation is that one lane of traffic in each direction will be maintained throughout the project. If there are circumstances that won't allow that, then we'll certainly communicate that as time rolls along. The new contractor safety standards that Mr. Allen, our safety manager, had been working on over the last several months, they will apply to this work as well. And the finer details of the construction, as I mentioned, they really won't come out until after the tender is awarded. So a lot of that is a little bit of a wait and see as this whole tender process plays out. And then in terms of communicating updates, the expectation is that it would be at least a minimum weekly update with anything that's done in the interim, certainly to end up on the project website, and of course shared on our platforms on the social media side as well. Somewhat mirroring the street upgrades schedule that we have going out, but those would remain 2 separate notifications just to try to avoid the confusion that may come with that. That being said, once the project timelines are clear and once things start to get underway, I will be including a link to the project website in the street upgrade notice, saying, for those of you looking for information about the status of the Reimagine Hampton Road project, click here and this will take you to exactly what you're looking for. So that's essentially how the communications plan is going to work at the moment. Again, there are some gaps there that will ultimately be filled in once the tender is awarded. But at the moment, that's kind of where things stand, and I'll give it back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosell. That sounds like a good plan. And we all know, no pun intended, there'll be bumps along the road. It's a major project. It doesn't sound like there wasn't one department within our town that has not been touched with this project. So a lot of coordination still to happen, and just thank you to the staff. We look forward to the tenders coming in, and of course, anybody that can attend the open house council. It would be probably a great thing to be there and here to see, what people have to say on it. So it's on the 24th again, the 24th at 6 p.m. I'm sorry. 6 to 8:30 in the council chambers, okay? So that wraps up the Hampton Road. Thank you very much. And so I'll just see if my little computer's working for me again. Okay, so St. John Pride Parade, Councillor Donovan reached out to myself and Deputy Mayor Luck, requesting about participation in the parade. So I'm going to give it to Councillor Donovan and ask him to expand.
Thank you. I won't talk about it too much because I don't believe it's a difficult conversation or discussion to have, and CAO Watson is likely to follow up afterwards with some comments. I will say that over the past 5 years of being on council, I've asked quite a few different times to have our town represented at the Pride Parade in St. John. I'm not looking for a big float. I'm not looking for any float for that matter. I'm just looking for a town branded vehicle that people can, such as myself, can walk beside. I've always been told that the timing wasn't right, but here we are, and the timing has never been better. So basically, the last few years I've gone to the St. John Pride Parade, and I've I guess you could use the analogy that I've wandered around like a lost puppy, because we've, the first year I went, I joined the St. John City Council, and then last year when I went, I became an honorary member of the town of Grand Bay Westfield. So I'm hoping that I can be an honorary member of my own town at this parade. And again, I would absolutely love to walk with the town of Quispamsis and have our town represented at this parade that's meaningful to me, not only to me, but to many members of our community. It's the city of St. John is by far the largest city in this region, but we're number 2, and we have a lot of residents in our community who are part of this community, the LGBT community, and I think they deserve to be represented, and we deserve to show up for them. So I intend to, regardless, but I would really appreciate your support in moving this along and allowing us to be represented a bit more at this important event. So I'll let CAO expand a little bit more if you'd like to.
So on that note, obviously, I think I love your idea, and Mr. Watson has been working on it to see if there's something that council can come to an agreement on allowing this to happen. So, Mr. Watson, could you give some comments, please?
Sure thing. Thank you, Your Worship. And thanks to Councillor Donovan for reaching out on the topic. Happy to offer staff's full support for our participation with a couple of related notes just for consideration. And first off, I would offer these notes are, I would consider relatively inconsequential to the broader question as to whether or not this is an event that council wishes to support. That's the fundamental. The administrative or staff details related to the request involve the use of the town vehicle, in that only employees can drive a vehicle, so we would need to secure an employee's support in order to do that. I expect, given the current staffing, especially in community services, that would require an overtime offer. But again, this is not a major consequence on our total HR budget. It's just a note that we would be dependent on a staff member being willing to take up to and including an overtime shift in order to participate. But again, not consequential and can be accommodated within the HR budget, and that fundamentally staff are fully supportive. Thank you, Your Worship.
Could I have the date of the parade, please?
July 25th.
Oh, July 25th, so it's coming up, not too soon, but so Mr. Watson's question, the fundamental question is, does council support this concept? And if so, then Mr. Watson would move forward with implementing what needs to be done in order for this to happen. So do I need a vote on that, or can we just have a consensus?
If you will give me one moment,
Okay.
I have a motion in each project.
Oh, great. Okay. So, Councillor Donovan, can you put the motion forward, please?
Sure, I would move that council support and endorses municipal participation in the upcoming St. John Pride Parade, which will take place on Saturday, July 25th, 2026, subject to ongoing operational and staffing requirements.
And that's seconded by Deputy Mayor Carrie Luck. On the question. Seeing there is none, please vote.
So that motion will have to be ratified and open at the July meeting if you want to mention that. Okay.
Just, motion carried 7-0, and that motion has to be ratified in our July meeting. However, that doesn't preclude us from going ahead, making preparations for the event to happen. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Donovan, for bringing it to our attention, and happy Pride.
I have a really cool convertible Porsche if we had a magnetic Quispamsis
we do.
slide.
Please have a motion to close. Moved by Councillor Olson. On the question, we're closing open. On the question, Councillor Bayer?
Just a hand for everybody to vote.
Oh, I guess we need hands up.
Yep, thank you.
Motion passed. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
And, okay, we're going to take a slight pause.
That probably is.
So, legal matters?
Yeah, we just have to wait for Tim.
Oh.
You want to stand up for a second? Okay.
Stand up, everybody will run.